Hello, everybody. So this morning, I'm going to record a quick video in between classes. It is about 5:43 a.m. Oh, I slipped hard on my shoulder. My doctor is working on this shoulder. And today I had a lesson about arms and shoulders and wave arms. And I can't wave this arm. It hurts too bad. So we practiced she can't wave her arms, which is great. My classroom gets quite a mess in between because I have to clean up post every day, but I have a big top pile of toys over here, y'all. Okay. Well, today is February 26th. It is episode 2 of Eva the Knowledge Diva with teacher Eva. This is my job name at my other job. Or at my my actual job. So today I thought I would bring to you a little bit of a story. Well, let's start with a quote. I love quotes. When I used to teach math and physics in the summer, I would come in with a positive quote for my students, and I loved it. And I learned that from Dr. Billy Winstead. He was my history professor in college, and he used to always come in with it was at history classes at the history of World War II with Adolf Hitler and like his life. So he would always come in with like an Adolf Hitler quote. It's kind of interesting. It was a very interesting class. And he would always salute and Sieg Heil every time he came. And he was not a racist or anything like that. He was just really cool. He wanted history to feel alive. And he did. He made history. He made you think that he was there and everything. So today's quote is by Stephen Hawking, an amazing theoretical physicist, and the longest surviving person with Lou Gehrig's or ALS ever that I know of. He was not supposed to. Most people who get a diagnosis in their 30s do not live into their 80s. Usually it's just a few years and they pass away, unfortunately. So he is a medical marvel himself. And today's quote is, he said, "I am just a child who has never grown up. I'm still asking these things like how, why questions. Occasionally, I found an answer." So he's kind of motivates us to always go, how does that work? Or why is this happening in the world or in the planet or with people? Or why does a child do this? I do this a lot. Why is a child doing this while learning? How is this helping them learn? Why do they wiggle so much? How does this help them? So I ask a lot of hows when I'm teaching. How is this helping? Why is a student behaving this way? And so it kind of leads to some interesting theories, and it's a great way to kind of get your brain going. So today's story, since I talked about me being a teacher, yes, I used to be, when I was in college, working on my associate's degree. I had a math professor who referred me to this program called Upward Bound, which did a summertime college prep session for high school students between the ages of 13 and I think 18 was our oldest maybe. And so going into high school, the students who were going into high school, and then those who were finishing their last year. I think only 17. I don't think we had too many 18-year-olds. But I walked in and I said, "Hey, could you all use someone who was good at math and physics?" And they're like, "Yeah." I didn't realize that it was hard to find people who liked math and physics. Well, who could teach math and physics. So I taught math and physics for, I think, like 6 years. And people wonder, why aren't you a teacher? Why don't you have a teaching degree? I'm not a fan of public school systems. Public school systems failed me. I was going into 5th grade and couldn't read, but I had all A's. So my parents, they actually said, "Hey, this isn't right." And they asked, "How can we help our children?" They asked, "Why are they not learning?" They asked those hows and whys, and they pulled us out of public school. They started their own school, which other students joined. I think our very first year was me, my sister, and the deacon's 3 kids. And it was in a basement of a church. and we had these uniforms that looked Amish. The Amish thought we were Amish. I had a little boy come up to me and fuss at me at the Save Lot because I wasn't wearing a bonnet because he thought I was Amish. So he thought I was like on Rumspringa or something, which we did have a lot. Me and my sister got made fun of one time at a Pizza Hut by some teenage Amish kids that were on Rumspringa, which is just kind of like because Amish people, you join the church. And when you're a teenager, when you're about 16 years old, you have to decide, am I going to go be English, which is just a typical American, or am I going to stay with the Amish church and dedicate myself to the Amish church? And so it's an interesting thing. So yeah, so I used to teach the math and physics. I enjoyed it a lot. I get real geeky about science and math. I had a student, I'm going to call him CW. CW asked me, he said, why are you always talking about math? And I was like, he goes, do you like math or something? And I was like, oh, dude, I don't like math. I love it. And so he got a little annoyed because he's like, gosh, do you have to talk about math all the time? He doesn't realize that I used to teach math and physics and stuff like that. So that's an interesting story time today. So a little useless information. Let's think about it. Let's find something physicsy today that's useless to talk about. Aha. Okay, here's a physics experiment everybody can do. So when you're waiting at a train and it's going by, pay close attention. Ow, I can't lift the arm. Pay close attention to the sound it makes while going by. Okay, so pay close attention and notice when it's coming towards you, goes, okay, it changes in frequency as you go by. That is called the Doppler effect. Yes, the same Doppler radar that we use in our weather systems, like weather prediction systems and stuff like that, uses the Doppler effect, which is just that wave sounds. As an object is moving and making a sound, it'll actually cause the sound waves to crunch. We're going to just say crunch in front of it. And then they're slow. They're not crunched behind it. So as it goes by, it's crunched and you hear, and then you don't hear it crunch. And that's the Doppler effect. Some of you all may have seen a Big Bang Theory where where Sheldon Cooper dresses up as the Doppler effect. And they're like, what are you for Halloween? And he goes, meow. And he has like a point of sound and these sound waves on him. It's funny. Anyways, thank you, Emily, for teaching me about the Big Bang Theory. I still love it. My husband does say that I'm quite Sheldon-y sometimes. And we didn't really understand why. There were some theories. But in college, here's another little personal time. In college, I was having dinner with a friend, a former student of mine who became a colleague. She became a special ed teacher. And we were just chatting and she was learning about children who are autistic. And I said, hey, what makes a kid autistic? So she starts naming these symptoms and behaviors and criteria. And I went, there's nothing wrong with those children. They're just like me. And she goes, actually, I think you might be autistic. So we did some tests. I talked to my therapist who I was going to at the time. Did more tests. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? And there is something back in the day, they called it Asperger's syndrome from Hans Asperger's. So my mom started reading up on it and I started reading up on it and started discovering I was advanced but delayed, which is strange. So advanced in that I potty trained myself as a child, but delayed in that I didn't speak till I was 4. Advanced in that math came super, super easy to me, but delayed in the fact that I couldn't read. So it was like very, Albert Einstein was this way. He was advanced in some areas, but then severely delayed in others. And there's theories as to why. He may have been on the spectrum too. But after discovering I've been part of the Spark Autism Research Study, and I've done some other research studies with places, they pay me, y'all. They pay me to answer questions about what I think and what I feel. Like, I think I made over $100 this past month from just answering people's questions about my brain and how I think and feel and process things, which is really nice. It kind of is paying to be autistic, but it also costs me a great deal. I have to have all these accommodations and stuff when I go in public sometimes, which can cost a lot of money. But yeah, we found out in college that I was on the spectrum, and there are days when I'm so high functioning, I don't believe it. And then I'll go to the grocery store and I come home and have a meltdown. A meltdown is just where your brain just gets overloaded with sensory information or trying to process life or emotions, and you just break down. And that's when my true autistic characteristics come out. Some people are like, oh, but you're not rocking. You're not. See, as you can tell, I keep my hands, but this is my autistic hand. This is the one that likes to flap. Now I'm calm and I'm at peace and have good control over my emotions. So it's not flapping, but if I am very upset, I'll start rocking, flapping, hitting my chest. That's one thing, like doing this. And it's just because they say stimming is a outward example of what a autistic person is feeling internally. So if they're beating their head against a wall, it is because they just feel stuck, and it's just like, I can't figure this out. And so that's why they do it. Ow, that's a little tender. And I didn't notice that I did these things when I was upset until my husband told me. And I was like, oh. So it kind of helped. It helped me in college later on, but I did fine. I didn't really need too many accommodations. When I went to Western, I actually started having to need accommodations. And that was just because it was just so stressful to handle the everyday stuff there. Getting to the bus on time, getting to class on time, finding a seat, finding lunch. Very basic things were very difficult because the bus routes changed all the time due to construction. Shops would close seasonally and they changed their hours every semester. My classroom and class buildings would change every semester. And it was just all this change, and I never could get like a consistent pattern. And then they changed the requirements for my degree, and they started including something that messed with my autistic brain. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do computer programming. Mess with the language part of my brain. And so honestly, y'all, computer programming language and my autism and the lack of compatibility between the two is why I'm not a math professor. But it has led me, so I felt like a big failure for a long time. But now I'm discovering I can be probably quite more successful going into school psychology, which I did not realize I was kind of a natural school psychologist all my years of tutoring. So we'll go into that next time. So anyways, that's the end of story time. Talk to you later. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Happy learning.